Hey, we're going to finish this section up. So, we are going to talk about a common theme that you will hear about in this class, which is socioeconomic status and how it affects someone's health and well being. So, we know that the lower your socioeconomic status or the lower your SES, the more likely you are to experience illness, the sooner you're likely to die, just the greater overall suffering that you will experience in your life. And so, if you're like wondering what SES is, I can give you like a light overview, but it's basically social economic status. So, social being, where are you in the social hierarchy? And that means, where do you stand in society? How does society view people who look like you, who think like you, etc.? The next one is, who have the job that you have. All of those things depend on to social. Some jobs have more status, some jobs have less status. The next one is economic. Economic means, how much money do you make, or how much money do you have from your family, from your assets, or how much do you make at your job? Okay, and those two things, we know that your status and your economic standing in society, and sometimes they are very related and sometimes they're slightly different, but we know that that is associated with different health outcomes. That is associated with so many health outcomes that it is breathtaking. Okay. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we know that folks from a lower SES group are more likely to experience illness at work. So they are more likely to have jobs that will expose them to different situations and circumstances. So they're more likely to get sick, whether that is from pollutants or whether that is like an essential worker during COVID. They are less likely to have high quality health coverage. So if you do get if you do get sick during a healthcare emergency, you would need good health coverage in order to be able to get yourself the best services. And a lot of times folks on the lower SES standing don't have access to that. They are more likely to live in environments with higher crime rates. So we know that poverty is associated with greater crime. That is across all lines, that tends to be the case. The higher the rate of poverty, the more crimes you see. And we also know that they are more likely to live in places with higher levels of pollution. And we know that pollution is not good. If you remember going through the health of wellness when it came to children in pregnancy, you know that pollution can have a detrimental effect from both the mother while the baby is in utero, and then from the father if it affects his sperm. So what are some other common causes of deterioration in health and well-being? So one of those are going to be in older folks, something called dementia. Dementia is a huge umbrella, and it basically encompasses all sorts of different disorders. We're going to talk about one of the most common, which is Alzheimer's, on the next slide. Now, dementia in and of itself is a big umbrella. And as we get older, the older that we get, the more likely we are to suffer from dementia. So what is Alzheimer's? So Alzheimer's really comprises, and it starts off as something that you might not notice. So like unusual forgetfulness. So they might just start misplacing things or forgetting words and things like that. That's usually how it starts. And if you have that, if you're really young, it's unlikely that's what's going on, but that's generally like the first level. Then it starts becoming difficult to recall certain words. And then you start to see more profound loss over time. Usually short-term memory is the first thing to go, and then it progresses into your long-term memories, but those are usually the last to go. Because remember, short-term memories are the newest. And so we know that when we process memory, it passes through our hippocampus and it spreads to all different parts of our brain. So it takes a long time to lose all of your long-term memories. But things that are still relatively new or things that you're still processing, you lose those first. So I mentioned in a Zoom call last week, the beta amyloid precursor protein. So we know that this is related to why some folks experience Alzheimer's, and we see this process starting to happen. So what you see is like clumps of deterioration. So if you were to see a picture of their brain, you'd see clumps where it was literally missing, okay? You see that their brain shrinks in size. They start to first lose part brain matter in like the hippocampus region, and that is the part of your brain that's responsible for basically like the save button. So things have to pass through there in order to be placed into long-term memory. So it makes memory more difficult to do over time. And then slowly you start to lose function in all different areas of your brain. All right, so we are going to stop there.